born and raised in Mississippi, and served our nation in the military. I'm happy to say, sir, thank you for serving and welcome home. We're talking about Roy Lee Jarman, who is a writer, a poet, and please, if you would, put your hands together and welcome Roy Jarman. Brother Roy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing out there?
Yes, good.
Everybody doing fine?
Yes, Jesus.
Are you doing great?
Awesome.
Well, I'd like to say that I am deeply humble and very grateful that I was asked to be here this afternoon. I count it a blessing as well as a privilege. So I'd like to thank Joe for allowing me to be here. I'd like to thank my wife, who's not here with me, because she's representing me, representing us, because one of our great friends receiving an award over in Garwood, humanitarian award.
Wow.
So I want to shout out to my wife, Audrey Grant. And most of all, I want to say hello and say thank you to my PR person, the hardest working PR person this side of heaven. And that's Yolanda McIntosh.
There you go, Yolanda.
AKA Yolanda Mac. So if anybody needs some PR, you can check out that lady. She is wonderful. Before I get started, let me tell you who I am not. I am not a physician, not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a counselor. I don't profess that I have authority on anything and hold no degree or certificate stating that I am. I'm not here to politicize, demonize, not dehumanize any person, place, thing, organization. So why am I here? What is my mission? Well, I am here as a messenger of hope. Some of the dark places where I've been and what and how I was able to climb out of those dark places, out of that dark pit, and what message of positive hope that I can offer someone by way of my writings of poetry, prose, and short stories. See, writing has become my purpose. Speaking has become my passion, and my mission is to ignite and accelerate a positive hope within those who may require some form of healing, recovery, or restoration. Through my book, Poetry by Simon, my writings has been the catalyst that led to my healing and ongoing recovery of restoration. My book, Poetry by Simons, contains poems and other writings about spiritual inspirations, love and romance, everyday life excursions, military experiences, and any other slice of life experience or occurrence. My book, Poetry by Simon, has become the platform which I may reach out to people like you, yes, you, to solicit you to help me in spreading this message of hope. Yes, I need you. They need you. Because you see, people today are hurting. And I need you because this is not about me per se. It's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than me. We all need you to help. Now, even though this book, Poetry by Simon, Volume 2, is dedicated to my wife, my late wife, Vachelle, whose given name was Nathalie Vachelle Cato, who died in December 2005 from her second occurrence with breast cancer. However, because I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and because I spend so much time with them, I want to talk to you most of all about my veterans. That's who I want to begin talking about and tell you some of the poems that I've written about them. Usually everywhere I go, in any event, whether it's a book signing or just speaking or whatever the case, I always carry flyers concerning our vets, how we may be able to find counseling for them, housing for the homeless vets, and even the suicide prevention cards that we have. They put a lot on the line for us, our veterans. They've paid a big price, and it really has caused a real rift within my heart when I see one suffering. Oftentimes we take it for granted, this freedom that we have each and every day. But for them, let me tell you, and you please excuse my vernacular, freedom ain't free. Yes, it's very important to me because my passion and my purpose for them has become my mission. Are you aware that 22 veterans commit suicide every day? Now that's a shame. And we should really be ashamed of this situation. We should not allow that. We cannot allow a person who has given so much for us that they have lost all hope for themselves. Because a person with hope does not commit suicide. Not if they can see light at the end of the tunnel.
Don't ever do that again.
Some has suffered physically, the arms, legs, and other appendages. Some has suffered emotionally and mentally, and other medical problems stemming from Agent Orange and other chemicals. So when you see a vet, give them a smile or shake their hands or say, thank you for your service to this great country that you allowed me to live in. Yes, many times we take it for granted. But like I said before, freedom ain't free. So at this time, I would like to read a couple of my poems, maybe however many that time allow. Beginning with one of the poems that I have. It's called The Foxhole. Now the foxhole sort of depicts a wartime situation, but if you really look in the background of it, it depicts that soldier himself even after the war is over. The Foxhole by Roy Lee Simon Jarman. Oh, that's me, just in case. A foxhole, though it may appear small, cramped, and claustrophobic, can contain a universe of its own. There's only one way in and one way out, a peephole existence and exit. You can never be absolutely sure whether your back is protected by friendly fire. But when bombs are exploding around you and darkness is your only shield, the situation can play many tricks on a soldier's mind. As the bodies are falling around you like cut weeds, and you can act and react and remain okay. When the bullets are zinging through the air and whistling past your head, you fight and cope. When the guns are thundering and the smell of burnt gunpowder smoke is in the air, you utilize your instincts and you find that you are surviving. But it's the silence that frightens. When you hear no sound except the pounding of your heartbeat as it grows louder and louder to a thundering, roaring thump within your chest and in your dry, parched throat. Now that's when the universe of the foxhole comes into play in your mind. That's when one reality becomes afraid. Then comes the fight, the real fight, as has happened on too many occasions for our veterans, is the fright that comes from the enemy within one's own self and not from the enemy without. Thank you. If you notice that when you're fighting, when he's fighting, he's reacting. But when the battle is over out there on the battlefield, the battle still rages, and interrupts his mind. The soldier leaves the battlefield, but the battlefield never leaves the soldier. I would like to read my next poem. It's called I Caught Myself Smiling, and it talks about some of those certain situations in that sense. I caught myself smiling. Now, this poem states that it gives the depiction of a person in the corporate world. I was a programmer for 20 years at AT&T, program manager, and I was sitting there behind my desk. And this is a reflection of what happened that morning. I caught myself smiling. I came to myself. I was sitting there at the computer staring into oblivion. I was daydreaming. I was reminiscing about our first skirmish at Uncay Pass. The Vietnamese hit us hard. They hit us fast. Yes, Charlie hit us heavy that day. And on my right side was steep mountain range straight up. And on my left side, straight down. There was no place to go to get out of the beating zone. And as I was crawling from the thickets of briars and stickers on the edge of the pass from which I had dove into, I noticed that the American was crippled on the driver's side. The feeder was dead and the gunner of the Quad 50 was bleeding, but still trying to fire the gun alone. And as I dragged myself up by the half-open door of the vehicle, I heard the driver groan. Gaining consciousness, he said, Let's take this gal home. Let's get out of here. The gunner on the back of the truck looked down at me and said, "Can you feed?" Yes, I shouted weakly. "Well, come feed her. Let's take her home." Lying flat on my back beneath that Quad 50, I could see directly up the mountainside. I was completely exposed to the enemy. There was no protection from anything falling down from that mountainside. But I never before ever felt more protected or more invincible. Shooting nearly straight up in the air, we set that mountainside ablaze as the driver drove us out of danger and toward the compound. The gunner was bleeding, but he mechanically pulled the butterfly triggers. I was sweating, scorched, scraped, and scarred. All 4 barrels of that Quad 50 were smoking, and they were sizzling like red-hot frying pans. Yes, that's what I found myself thinking about. That was what I was reminiscing about. What a rush, what a great feeling of power. And then I came back to myself, but with a big grin on my face. I was smiling. I was enjoying it. Oh man, what a feeling. Oh man, what a thrill. I caught myself smiling. I shouldn't be enjoying this kind of stuff. I shouldn't be enjoying these kinds of feelings. I shouldn't be enjoying these kinds of experiences. I can't live in this corporate world or any world with these kinds of thoughts living inside my head. I can't. So what do? Well, just maybe, maybe I should just live inside my thoughts. Thank you. See, oftentimes that's what's happened when we see our veterans. And one of the myths that I want to just talk about